All right. Well, their guys are walking in now, like the other show, and but then Renee catches Jay White in the back next to the one of the production trucks as he's about to walk into the arena, and he starts doing a promo, and it was starting to get too long for the top of the show, in my opinion. It was Jay White talking. I don't know that he can command the attention of a room or a parking lot. But then suddenly, here comes Dick the Boozer and the Boar Horseman are walking up to menace him. And in effect, Moxley's walking up to menace the guy that's being interviewed by his wife. But then right up behind them are Edge and FTR. And suddenly they just all have a fight. But they, again, still cannot keep a straight face on this thing because they have the sight gag in the front of Marina Shafir just walks over and bends over and picks up Renee and puts her over her shoulder and carries her out of the frame. And you don't see them again. And it's like they're silent movie comedians. They just want a fucking sight gag.
I wish it was silent.
Arena.
I wish it was in silence. That'd be better. Well, it kind of is, actually, now that I think about it.
Oh, yeah, no, we were listening to it all right as well. Into the big door of the back of the arena, and then they did the fight walk where they were kind of fighting and kind of walking because they got to go through the backstage area and get into the arena. And then they have an 8-way fight all over the arena, and they couldn't shoot it all because then they would have to be shooting parts of the arena they couldn't shoot, or they couldn't find these people anyway. And the fans are standing there, and they'll react if somebody takes a big bump, but they've seen this has become the normal thing to come to a live AEW TV show and just see a bunch of fucking people fighting all over the place.
And they don't react. And the fans don't react. And, I said it to you a little bit off air. You look at Raw or SmackDown, the top people being featured. And I hate to even compare the two companies at this point, but Jey Uso, CM Punk, Owen, Zayn, a variety, Drew McIntyre, a variety of people. Nobody's young. Nobody's in their early 30s. No one's even close to it. Yet no one feels stale. And everyone feels fresh. And I know this is a weird thing to say, but if you look at the 5 people I just named, by and large, maybe some guys both wear black, but everyone looks and feels different. The opening of this show was the least marketable amount of wrestlers, or group of wrestlers, you could put out there, despite what Hobbs has as potential. Moxley, he's always in like fucking green or just a white t-shirt, and the rest of his crew dresses the same except Pac, who doesn't wear clothes. And then Cope and FTR, nobody's invested in FTR at this point. FTR's biggest fans aren't invested in them anymore because of the way they've been treated. And also they have a lot to do with that as well. But the way they've been booked has not helped anyone. Same thing with Cope. And beyond that, I just don't think he has the star power outside of WWE that he did or was supposed to have in WWE. So this whole opening thing, everyone was old and slow. This was not good at all. And I said it to you last week with Moxley. This guy's the top heel in the company, trying to murder people, not put them out of action, murder them. He tried to put bags over the head of poor Drano down their throat. He stands in the crowd. He stands in the crowd with Marina Shafir. No one's going after him. No one's even near him. They don't even have to send him out with the security guard anymore. No one goes anywhere near him. There's no heat. This Death Rider stuff has been an utter disaster. And then having them in a feud with Cope and FTR, I'm glad they started the show off with this to get it out of the way. But you want to look at the dichotomy between WWE and AEW, look at these guys versus any top push guy in WWE. These people aren't marketable.
Well, yeah,
this is not appealing.
The point you just made that all those guys, Drew McIntyre and some have not been there for years and years. Like Punk came back and it was off for injury, and a lot of those guys have been there for years. But you're interested now in all the new shit they're doing. and they do seem fresher, and they're not young people, but they're attracting young people because they're old enough to be good performers, for one thing. But these guys have not even been there as long as some of those guys have been in WWE, and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, these people again.
Yeah, and again, LA Knight, I think, is in his early 40s, and he's someone who got to the game pretty late. He doesn't feel old. He doesn't feel stale, unless you just hate, like, you do hear from people that don't like that kind of performer, but the fans love him, and they react to him, and he feels somewhat fresh. Everyone on this thing was wearing, like, fucking dark colors, and, like, no one pops out against the fans. It's just terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible wrestling television. And I've seen more wrestling television than most people. It's terrible wrestling television.
Well, finally, all of these individuals in this big fight got to ringside. And again, and by the way, the signs of the night in this same segment, Boar Horseman and COVID fears Cornette. So at least we got some entertainment out of this segment.
Boar Horsemen being held up at any point in the show would be an accomplishment, but holding up while the Boar Horsemen are in the middle of whatever they do, that is a major, major accomplishment. Congratulations, whoever you are.
Yes, congratulations, oh sign fellow. But then Edge speared Claudio, and the heels kind of awkwardly tried to walk off, but Edge did the promo challenging Dick the Boozer for the AEW World Heavyweight title match at Revolution, which is their pay-per-view in March, correct? Whoop-de-ding. And the plumber milks it and then says no and tries to leave again. And I'm thinking, please let him go. And then White gets on the microphone and screams something at him. I have something down here in quotation marks in my notes because I don't know what between the way he was shrieking and his accent. And then he asked for a tag team match in Australia at Grand Slam or whatever that wing ding is, a Brisbane Brawl. Guess what it is, Brian?
No DQ, anything goes?
Lazy booking. You bet your bippy is what.
Sweet bippy.
You bet your sweet. Well, I'm sorry, I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but I've never thought your bippy was particularly sweet. But so it's going to be White and Edge, or Edge and White. I don't know who gets top billing against apparently Claudio and Dick the Boozer in Brisbane at their brawl. Yeah.